Now back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Gaston's White River Resort, and Barton Power Sports.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. We're having fun as we do every Saturday morning from 6 to 7:30 on ESPN 790. Greg Ratliff is our show producer, rolling along the last Saturday in June, which is hard to believe. And you know, we've been talking for the first couple of segments a lot about fishing because we got Ron Wong in the studio. We got Bill Cooks in the studio. Both of them love to fish. And we may talk a little bit fishing with the next guy. I don't know, but we are definitely going to talk ducks because I love to talk ducks.
Absolutely.
At this time of the year because when it's 97 degrees in Memphis or whatever it might be, it's good to hook up with our good friend John Devney. He's the Vice President of U.S. Policy for our good friends at Delta Waterfowl. Good morning, John.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Glad to have you on the show as usual, and I know that John recently got a press release from Delta Waterfowl, and I always read those and check them over and send them straight to my website at lroutdoors.com about a new deal. And when these guys do something, they want to do it first class. This is a new guide that you could turn to into a waterfowl identification guru in the duck blind. This is my guru book I've got right here.
It is needed out there.
It is really, isn't it? Now, not
really
just because of poor eyesight from some of us old folks.
And well, I want to say something, and this will bring John in, and he can give us his thoughts. But the internet and especially Facebook has so opened my eyes to how poor
misidentification
so many people are at identifying birds. It's after you've been in it a long time, you think, man, everyone knows what a young mallard drake looks like.
You would think.
Everyone knows what an early season wood duck looks like, and everyone knows what a cross between a mallard and a pintail looks like. They don't.
They don't. And
right.
And John, you guys have come up with the North American Waterfowl Identification Guide. It's just like when I got it, the other morning at 6:30 when John made sure I got it, I wanted to make sure I got it. I didn't even read my paper. I started reading this, So tell our listeners, John, a little bit about the guide itself, the idea, like Bill just opened up the question right there that folks, even long-time hunters, and I got to admit sometimes we get a little anxious in the blind, but tell our listeners about the history of why you did this book and what you think about it.
Well, in Cooksey's right. I mean, I think, and I think those of us have spent lots of time in the duck blind, and I'm lucky enough to spend way more time with these ducks than most folks are, chasing them around in the spring and summer and then chasing them around with a shotgun in the fall. We can get pretty competent at this stuff. But, guys, I tell you what, if I laid a hen ringneck and a juvenile hen redhead side by side, I bet you I could get you wrong a couple times out of 10. So there are these species that folks consistently have problems with, and Cooksey points out that this has been a long time problem. Actually, the tool that we're using was developed by Fish and Wildlife Service special agents to teach law enforcement how to identify ducks. And listen, if you've been duck hunting a long time, we've all heard the story of a game warden saying, well, that's a hen mallard. You say, no, sir, that's a hen gadwall. And you end up in front of a judge having to prove that you had a gadwall instead of a hen mallard.
Yep.
So while duck hunters struggle with this, people in enforcement, even Fish and Wildlife Service people with enforcement, certainly with state agencies that may not have grown up as duck hunters and grown up around ducks, struggle this as well. So the instrument, the product that we've developed here was side by side with a Fish and Wildlife Service special agent who he and his father and his colleagues over time developed. This is the means to teach the game wardens how to do duck identification, and it really is a revolutionary tool.
And we're talking to John Devney. He is the Vice President of U.S. Policy for our good friends Delta Waterfowl out of Bismarck, North Dakota, here on Outdoors with Larry Ray on this Saturday, June 27th. And I know, John, 47 species of ducks, geese, and swans, so it's not just and it's a big – well, it's not big, really. I mean, you could put this in your bag, But this is something you need to know before you even go in the field. This is something that you can.
Well, but some of that you can't memorize that book.
No, I can't memorize this
I'm going to give
book.
an average hunter a break.
All right.
But it does give you the tools when you have a bird in hand. And let's face it, one bird in North America, there's none right now that will get you in trouble if you shoot it. So someone's not an awful person for pulling the trigger and then realizing, whoa, I thought that was a such and such. I'm not sure what it is.
Yes, yes.
But with this, you can now identify that bird and keep yourself out of trouble because the second one could be a problem.
That's exactly right. And so I think the really cool thing about this is, I mean, the book is great. And, what we did is, we're duck hunters and producing some, glossy coffee table book that a guy can't use in the field isn't much use. I mean, this thing is bulletproof.
Yeah, bulletproof. Now, watch it. Now, it's waterfowl, so it's waterproof.
It's waterproof. It's tear-proof. You can scroll through it easily. But the really cool thing to this is the entire system is built around a notion of, looking at the wings, look at the speculum, blue, green, or gray, or white.
Yeah.
And then you can look at toes, and that will get you 99.9% there. So you look at the blue, if you shoot a duck with the blue speculum, it's a mallard, a black duck, a wood duck, or a mottle duck. And you can look at those. You can go to that page, which is all color-coded on the book.
Yeah, it is.
And proceed from there. And so it's a really, I think the book is, it's well developed to be used in the field. It's tough. It's easy to use in the field. The reference key is really easy. You don't have to scroll through 800 pages. You learn the index, and you can find exactly where you are very, very quickly. And, I just think it's going to be a really, the reviews we've had from hunters that have bought it, you get a little, every hunters and fishermen get pretty excited about new gadgets. We all know that. But we've been getting lots of rave reviews from the guys, sort of said this is a much, much, much better way of doing business than the, prior field guides we've been using.
Well, I know that I look at it, and you go to waterfowlid.com. I know how much this thing costs. What is it? It is $24.95. It says on the back of mine. Is that
including with shipping? I think we've got a special deal that we're including shipping on that as well.
So wow!
And this is not just for new duck hunters. Look, I've been at this for over 40 years. And when you get into some of the species, I've hunted coast to coast. I've hunted from Canada to Mexico. But I still will see a photo where someone says, what is this duck? And it gets into some odd divers or sea ducks that I just haven't hunted enough that I need to go back and reference something to be able to say, okay, this is a juvenile old squaw hen.
Right.
And that's over 40 years of hunting in a lot more places, a lot more species than the average guy. So I don't care how long you've been at it. It will come in handy if you have a good reference to identify some of those more obscure birds.
All right, well, look at this, Bill Cooksey, before John comes in. You've been hunting for over 40 years. You look at this. What impresses you about this?
Man, I love a sprig on a cover. But
there you go.
But the stock of the paper, how heavy duty this is, it's obviously made to be a field guide that you can actually take out and use. Right. And that's what you need.
Tear-proof, too. I like that.
Yeah.
Waterproof. And, John, I know, what were you going to say?
Well, I think that's the thing is, I mean, most guys carry a blind bag that makes their wife's purse look functional. And, certainly if you can have 400 calls and 600 chokes and, 3 times the ammunition
now you're talking
that we all need on the day of duck hunting, there's plenty of room for this guide. And it's not so small that you have to, you have to have a microscope to look at it.
Yeah.
But it's not so big that it's cumbersome. It'll fit right in between a few boxes of shells. It's a useful tool.
It's a great $25 product. I know that. And before we let you go, and again, that's you can go to waterfowlid.com for more information to order your copy of this wonderful waterfowl identification guide. But we got to ask you, you're in Bismarck. You kind of hinted to us off the air before we started. You had a lot of rain up there, John. Look at your crystal ball. We always ask you this. I know we're in the end of June, but you say you got a lot of water in that area up there.
Yeah, I think we started really dry, though, guys. And so, I think it's going to be real interesting. I mean, you take as an example, I think the Fish and Wildlife Service survey crews here in the eastern Dakotas were grounded for like 7 days because of weather. And most of that was rain. Mm-hmm. And so, when they started the surveys, a lot of the crews all across the prairies were noting, considerably drier conditions than they saw a year ago. But, we've been we've been pretty darn wet through May and June. And as I mentioned before we got on the air, I think we're going to have better wetland conditions on the 4th of July than we did when they started the survey, which is not the way the world normally functions up here.
Right.
So, I'm hopeful that, those late rains probably let some ducks slip through. I think if I had to guess, we're going to see some overflight of species like pintail. We're probably not going to have, the sort of stunning breeding densities we've had. Mm-hmm. But what this late rain is going to do is it's certainly going to help the late nesters, the gadwall, the shovelers, and blue-winged teal. And I'm hoping it sort of helps the re-nesting effort, and it really should help duckling survival. So it's early. We should be seeing numbers from the feds here within the next week to 10 days to see what they counted. And, it's all speculation. But, if the world would have been perfect, we would have had that water to keep ducks in the best habitats this spring. But, better late than never, I guess.
Well, as long as the shovelers are good, we're happy.
Oh, man.
That's right. I know a bunch of guys in northeast Arkansas that are pretty hard on the spoonie. Friends and company excluded.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. John, thank you. Folks, go to deltawaterfowl.org. Find out more about Delta Waterfowl. I know we've got lots of folks here in the Mid-South and Memphis area that are heavily involved with Delta Waterfowl, and always good to talk to John Devney. Thank you, John. Have a great weekend, buddy, and keep those projects. You got too much on your hands right now, okay? So,
thank you so much, gentlemen. Appreciate
all right.
it. We'll talk soon and talk numbers when we got
Oh, yeah. We'll get back with you. Thank you, buddy. All right. Bye-bye. Let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray, and then we're going to do something. We're going to try. We're going overseas if we can. We're going to give a try to see if we can hook up with the Netherlands. Never in the history of this show.
I thought you were going to send me over there, and
I thought you would have been there. If you'd have known about, you'd have been there probably. All right. We're right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790.